Welcome to Grand Sumo Breakdown,
the unofficial sumo podcast
for official sumo fans.
Welcome to Grand Sumo Breakdown. This is Ryan.
This is Jake.
This is Fleric.
And this is Mac.
And this is our preview episode for the November basho, not the Kyushu basho as we usually see at this time of the year, as it is being held in Tokyo and not Kyushu. It'll just be the November tournament. So we are recording this on Tuesday, which happens to be election night here in the United States. So don't know any official news on anybody who has pulled out or will not be joining the tournament, except for Abi, who is suspended once again.
Attaboy. And we won't be talking about the election or anything like that, because by the time this is edited and released, obviously the election results will be known and all the divisions of the country will be healed. So there's no point in bringing it up tonight when we don't know anything yet. So
exactly, yeah.
So we're going to move on. The only other thing to note about it being election night is that 2 out of the 3 GSB wives are totally poll working tonight. As I have always told Katie and Carolyn that I figured in times of desperation they would end up going back to the poll to work.
Yeah, I found it surprising that they were doing it for free tonight, which I thought defeated the purpose of putting in the work on the polls. But hey, they just must love it for the sport of it.
Carolyn calls it her passion project.
Yeah, when you're passionate about something, you don't have to get paid to do it.
Hey, that's fair. I don't blame her. She's gonna. They're
I've
both
seen
gonna
Katie
get
work.
plenty of attention from plenty of people today while they're on the polls. So hey, good for them.
Absolutely. Yeah, I've seen Katie work a poll. I mean, it works. It's a thing to behold.
Oh yeah, no, I've seen it. It's wonderful.
Yes.
All right. Quick shout
Moving
out
along.
as we quickly move on from that. Quick shout out to at Cynical Tetsuji on Twitter, because we did our Frankenstein's Rikishi episode it wasn't a couple weeks ago. Was it just a week ago or a couple weeks ago? Who knows? But like back in March or April, when we're like, hey, we might be able to record a lot more because of COVID, we asked for bonus episode ideas, and he was the one that kind of suggested that one. So thank you at Cynical Tetsuji for giving us the inspiration for that, even though it was vastly more delayed than probably we expected.
And the mass amount of bodies that were required to make that episode possible.
As everybody can tell, the tournament is still going forward. We were able to get everybody sewed back up and in pretty close to working order. So if somebody falls apart on the dohyo, it's not our fault. That's a lot of bodies to sew up.
Yeah. An error or two is expected.
Yeah. I mean, even if we mess up 2 or 3 bodies, that's less than 1%. That's pretty damn good, I'd say.
Sure.
So we also want to advertise that at the end of this tournament, we are going to be sending out our polls for the 2nd annual Rikishi popularity poll. We did this last year, and Enho ended up being the most popular Rikishi, and Abi was the least popular Rikishi. We kind of want to do this on a yearly basis to kind of track how everybody's going. Like Tochinoshin, he was an Ozeki last time we did this. He was like number 3 or 4 in the polls. Will his drop down the ranks and drop from the Ozeki rank make an impact into his popularity? So we will be doing that at the end of the tournament. So the final thing that we always do before we move on into actually discussing the tournament that is coming up, we have to listen to our correspondent B to get our recap from the Aki tournament.
You say it like it's such a chore.
Hey guys, B here with your Wakiaki 2020 review. So, remember when everyone wanted the old hardcore title back and we got the 24/7 title instead? I feel like we got the same sort of monkey's paw here. Booking-wise, we wanted something other than random one-off winners or lol Hakuho wins, so we got Shozeki Dai. I mean, he had a build, he had a story, his booking was progressive and made sense, which is what we've been begging for 2 years now, and I mean, it's still Shodai, though. What's the kanji for warm and trash? On the character development side, I gotta say I'm loving the Tochi heel turn more and more. He's gone from Rudo to just complete scumbag heel with those Hankas, and this Another Day, Another Kensho gimmick is honestly kind of doing it for me. Speaking of former Ozeki, though, can someone get Dr. Amon on the phone for Giku, please? I know his entrance and his high spots are still over, but that dude needs to take a producer slot or something, because he should not be medically cleared to compete. And a quick side note on Enho, I really hope they do something more with him than make him another Ishihara. He's got the Daniel Bryan potential, but having him starting to throw little man Hankas is mid-card death. Get him in a three-way or something. I'm sure Hakuho would put him over. Anyway, good looking out, boys. Let's hope by November they get the right refs mic packs working to sync with Gorilla Position, because all of those stop and starts were a little indie-rific for me. I'll see you for Kyushu. This is awesome, Yamoka. This is awesome, Yamoka.
Thank you, B, as always, for your hard work. So, as I mentioned, this tournament is once again being held in Tokyo and not in Fukuoka, as it is typically done in the November tournament, and that is obviously due to the COVID crisis. They have taken a step in increasing the spectator count from 2,500 to 5,000, so there will be a few more people in the stands for this tournament, and they are starting talks on planning for the Haru Basho to be held in Osaka, so that is the upcoming March tournament, and that would be the first tournament to be held outside of the Kokugi-Con since the last Haru Basho. So no definite plans, they're just starting to talk like, if we did this, how would we do it? So let's talk about what Rikishi will be performing in this tournament. And as always, we'll start with the two Rikishi that are most likely to not be performing in this tournament, the Yokozuna.
As is the new tradition.
Yeah.
How sad is that, really?
It is very sad, and it's only going to get more sad as we talk about Kakuryu. He is suffering from a myriad of injuries, as we all know, because he hasn't participated in like 5 out of the last 6 tournaments, or he hasn't finished 5 out of the last 6 tournaments, something like that. So 1 week ago, he had a quote where he said, "I'm gradually getting there. I think I'm feeling fine. All I can do is not put too much physical burden on myself and go about it carefully. Regarding the next basho, I'll start doing some sumo and see how it goes. I'll see if I can do things I usually do." He mentioned he's got a lower back injury that requires daily therapy, but despite that daily therapy, it will not heal. And he has that elbow that he injured in that match against Endo, where he fell flat on his ass hilariously. And he says that he has to be careful not to put load on it or hurt it, which sounds like it will be very difficult to do inside of the dojo. So that was all 1 week ago. Today, he still has yet to practice any sumo. He says that my preparations are not going as well as they should. And he also said, when I participate, I have to get results. Fleric, that's a lot of bad news for Kakuryu. Are we thinking he is going to miss another tournament?
Well, I think I heard from, I think it was Kintamiyama who said it's not looking too likely, right? And who am I to go against Mr. Testicle Mountain? So I think probably not. It's not looking too good for Kakuryu. It's very sad. It's a shame. But, there's always next year.
Well, maybe, unless they force him to retire.
He's going to have at least one last hurrah. There's no way he doesn't have one last hurrah, right?
We do know that the Yokozuna Deliberation Council, I don't think they made like a firm recommendation that like, yeah, you have to perform or else. But I think, yeah, he could slide by this one, but I think come January, then he has to do something. But yeah, time is ticking ever closer to the end of Kakuryu in a sumo ring as a competitor, if he cannot get his injuries kind of taken care of so he can finish a tournament.
Yeah, I mean, there's only a limited number of times that this can happen before they do force him to retire. So, or I guess technically pressure him to retire. They can't really force it, but like, you know what I mean? Like, I think there's a finite amount of time before it's going to happen.
Yeah, and Kakuryu
it's getting there.
That.
Yeah, it's getting there. It's not there yet. but definitely starting to get closer and closer. I agree.
It's also not the first time we had this exact same conversation on this exact podcast.
True, but I
Yeah.
think this is the kind of worst stretch for him where he's been absent the most over a period of a year.
Yeah, because I think the year before he had like a long stretch, but then he instantly came back and like got a Yusho or a Jun Yusho, I believe.
Yeah, and just shredded for like a couple tournaments.
I would say
Yeah,
this
so-
just about ties for his worst stretch because back in 2017, he only finished 1 out of a stretch of 6 as well. Then this most recent time that he's done 1 out of a stretch of 6, he at least got the Jun Yusho. He at least performed. But that previous time, he only got 10 wins, and the only time that he finished a tournament in 2017. So I'm pretty positive that it was at the beginning of 2018 that we were looking at the last time that he was being pressured to retire, and that's when he knocked out 2 straight Yusho. So,
yeah,
who knows? He might come back next tournament and be like unbeatable again, or that he might retire during this tournament. I think there's a very, very wide range of possible. A very wide range of realistic possibilities.
Yeah, I don't think there's really any chance that we see Koto this tournament because I think his quote that says, "When I participate, I have to get results," is the most telling. I think that's him saying, yeah, if I enter a tournament and I have to pull out again or I get 8 wins, I think he knows that that's the end of him. And this will be the worst. If he indeed does not participate, this will become his worst stretch because he will not have completed 6 out of 7. And we have not seen Koto win a match since day 14 of the Haru Basho.
Wow.
So it's been a little while since we've seen him get a win. Yeah. Let's move on to the other Yokozuna, and that is Hakuho. He looks to be like he's back in fighting shape. He participated in that joint practice that they held in mid-March that included guys like Takakeisho, Shodai, Takayasu showed up, Mitakayumi, so a lot of heavy hitters in there. And Hakuho did fight in 43 matches across 2 days against Mitakayumi and Shodai, losing to each one of them only once. So Hakuho said, "Though I had a little discomfort and anxiety over my knee, it is nothing major. I'm glad I finished this week without any injuries and without wasting this opportunity. I tried to rebuild my body and regain my sumo sense. Through this, I hope I can make a comeback in November." And then just earlier this week, Miyagino Oyakata said that Hakuho is practicing as usual and his mobility seems good. He's still unclear on if his knee is fully healed, and he will make a decision whether to participate following a hospital examination. So just a reminder to everybody, Hakuho had arthroscopic knee surgery on both of his knees. It sounds like it's just one of them that's bothering him more than the other. But sounds like he's at least, obviously he's doing well enough to practice and wipe the floor with some Ozeki and Sekiwake. So Jake, if Hakuho enters, if that hospital examination goes well, is he once again the favorite, or do you think his age and the injuries might make it a little bit more of an even field than we typically see when Hakuho's there?
I think both of those things are true. His age and injuries will make it a little bit more of an even field than usual, but at the same time, he is also still the favorite. I think it is reasonable to consider both of those things true. We've seen him pull out enough times from tournaments, although technically he hasn't done 2 in a row in a couple years. But if he is confident enough that he is entering, it's because he believes that he can win. Like his personal belief that he can win is certain if he is entering the tournament. So I don't know. I do think that both of those things are true. I do think that he will be the favorite if he enters. And it's just one of those things where we'll probably be saying this until he's 43 and he has, continued to go like 15-0 when he does enter once a year, whatever. But like, I think I hate that this is the answer every time we have this question pop up, but he's got to be the favorite. If he's confident enough that he can enter it, I trust his judgment as much as I trust anyone's.
Yeah, it's Hakuho. Can't count them out yet.
Yeah, and this exact same
not
like 60-second soundbite, I'm sure you could copy and paste it into several more podcasts coming up. Just like we might as well have copied it from several other podcasts in the past.
We just have to update the age, 43.
Yeah, and
we'll probably have this conversation when he's 65.
If I know anything about Jake, copying and pasting a conversation from a prior episode and putting it into a new one is far too much editing work for him, though.
that's a good point. I'm pretty sure it's also impossible to edit
True.
audio in such a way.
Yeah, it's impossible.
But that's not to say it's a dumb topic to discuss. It's just to say that it's I haven't seen any reason to change my answer to this question from the last time that we discussed it.
Yeah, and I think we're just going to keep having this discussion until he fights in 2 or 3 tournaments. Then we'll be like, yeah, obviously he's the favorite. But I did do just a little bit of research into both of our Yokozuna since the beginning of our podcast, which was September of 2017. There have been 18 basho that were completed, and so Kakuryu did not finish 10 of those 18 tournaments, and Hakuho did not finish 11 of those 18 tournaments. But I was curious to see how did they do when they actually competed. So Kakuryu, in the 8 tournaments he did finish, he has 3 Yusho and 2 Jun Yusho. Hakuho, in the 7 tournaments he did finish, 5 Yusho and 1 Jun Yusho. So
you're saying your hot take here is that Hakuho is better than Kakuryu.
No, not a hot take whatsoever. Just once again, more stats to back up what we already know.
Fair enough. I think that's interesting though, because I would not have guessed that Hakuho had more absences in that time period. But I suppose that's because he's basically every other tournament, whereas Kakuryu has just had long stretches, but in the meantime has competed more often, I guess, in between his big injury stretches.
Yep. So let's move on to our Ozeki. 3 guys that we know will enter the tournament. So we have Shodai, Fleric, who will be making his Ozeki debut after winning his first career Yusho in Aki. We have Takakeisho, who had his best basho in a year and won the Jun Yusho. And we have Asanoyama, who was 10-5, but he has been the most consistent Rikishi over the past year. So, Mac, of our 3 Ozeki, which one will have the best performance in November?
See, for this one, I think we have to go back to consistency. And I'm not saying that just as an Asanoyama fan, but we've seen him in tournaments past, whether he just has a little trouble getting going or hanging in there. He has the potential to go the longest without blowing up or completely giving things away. Takakeisho, definitely spurty, but I mean, in the last tournament, Asanoyama was the worst performing Ozeki. Granted, that was one of 2, but then you compare it to Shodai. He's a Shin Ozeki this time. And no offense to him, but there's kind of a curse with Shin Ozeki. Asanoyama was able to fight it, Takakeisho was not. So I'm thinking with all that partying and maybe no longer being hot garbage to Fleric, now that Fleric is neutral.
Fiercely neutral.
Exactly. He's totally neutral at this point.
It's the strongest sumo emotion he feels.
Yeah.
He is very happy, and he will take it one wrestler at a time.
So I think consistency is going to win out here, and I think Asanoyama is going to have the best record.
Hey, what do you think about the curse of the Shin Ozeki tends to be because of partying and media events? I'm curious how much of that. Sorry, go ahead.
All that Ozeki sake they have to drink.
Of course. But I'm curious how much of that time commitment is still active. Like, how much of that stuff does he still have to do during the year of COVID? So I'm sure it's less, but I don't know if it's enough less to make a difference.
He also won the Yusho, so I'm thinking he has to drink an Emperor's Cup worth of sake before he can compete.
Yeah. It's part of the ceremony, I imagine.
It has to be, clearly.
You also get like a sponsorship for a year or something.
And then he has to eat that giant fish.
Yeah.
I didn't realize you had to swallow the whole thing whole.
Oh yeah, that was new to me.
Yeah. But to go off what you said, Jake, I think it's probably still less. But they did have Daigeku, the training with other Heiyas, I believe.
They just had that joint practice. They still, outside of that 5 to 6 day joint practice, I still think they have to be training within their own Heiya.
So I think probably a little bit less from the time Asanoyama I think, became Ozeki. And also, I think there's a lot more pressure on Asanoyama than Shodai, I would say. So so he probably took a lot more seriously. So I would say a little bit less, but probably not back to non-COVID levels. Somewhere in the middle, I would say.
Yeah, and I think Shodai, from some stuff that I've read, he's not letting this Ozeki thing get to his head, because Ozeki get some special privileges that anybody below that rank don't get. Like there's a special parking lot or something.
Yeah,
that they can use.
Parking spot underneath the Kokuki-Con.
Yeah, instead of walking into the Kokuki-Con, and Shodai has said, like, no, I'm just going to continue doing what I always did. It helps me get in the right mind space for a tournament, so I'm not going to change it. Now, I reserve the right to change my mind later, but at least to start off, he said that he's just going to keep going with the same routine, which I think that should help him kind of get over that Shin Ozeki curse. But even as we sit after a 13-2 Yusho for Shodai and him being promoted to Ozeki, showing that he had a sustained length of dominant performance, I still don't fully buy it to Shodai.
Yes!
But
What?
me not
That's
buying
the
into
quick
Shodai
feeling.
now means 9-6 instead of like the 12 to 13 wins or whatever crap he's been doing recently.
Yeah, he doesn't have the same motivation. Like, he just has to get, like, the 8-7, and then, he just has to get, like, a barely Kachikoshi, then the Makikoshi. He's on easy street now for a while.
Exactly. Shocking fact, Shodai and Terunofuji, same age.
What?
There you go.
Yeah.
Huh.
So,
But knee age, like, Terunofuji
Oh, yeah. No.
way up there.
yeah, very true.
Terunofuji is about to get put out to pasture in knee years.
So we have 3 Ozeki that all finished with double-digit wins in the previous tournament. We believe we'll be absent at least one Yokozuna. It has been 21 tournaments since an Ozeki won. It's been 2.5 years. No, it's been more than 2.5 years. I don't know where that 2.5 year note came from. It's been almost 4 years since an Ozeki last won a tournament. So do we think an Ozeki is going to win this tournament? I say no. I don't think so. Unfortunately, Hakuho exists.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even not, there's that pesky Maegashira 16 or 17 you have to worry about.
Yeah, no kidding.
As always.
What about you, Jake? You think an Ozeki takes this one home?
It's really tough for me. I guess if I had to put it into numbers, I'd say like 40% Hakuho, assuming that he enters, 40% the 3 Ozeki, because they're obviously the strongest 3 guys right now, consistency record-wise, and then just the 20% that 2020 happens again. Just like one more on its way out 2020 total BS kind of situation.
It's
I don't know.
become its own thing at this point. It's like 2020 happened and this.
I don't know. I'd say like the chance that Hakuho enters is I don't know. There's so many doubts. You know what? I'm gonna say yes that an Ozeki is gonna win. Just because I think that it's more likely that those 3 are hungrier and willing to take bigger risks and stay in the tournament even if they're not feeling 100%. Yeah, I'll say yes. I think it's right around 50, maybe a tiny bit higher that an Ozeki might win.
But there
I
are
don't
also
know.
the people who could step out and keep the rank,
Mm-hmm.
opposed to others.
That's true, but we really haven't seen that happen often. It certainly happens. Like Takakeisho got his 8th win and then pulled out, right? But like I don't think it happens often, and I do think that, or at least I hope that these 3 are seeing an opening, like the glimmer of light in the rank above them, that maybe it's their chance to put together a run.
The Yokozuna run.
Yes.
Yeah, the only guy I would worry about kind of the injury thing right now is Takakeisho. I don't think Asanoyama or Shodai have really ever shown tendency to getting injured. So
Yeah,
hopefully
nothing recently.
that continues.
Knock
But
on wood. Knock on
now
wood.
that Shodai's Ozeki, yeah, his knee is probably going to explode on his walk, not from the parking garage. And he's like, I should have
Yeah.
taken the Ozeki privilege.
The parking space.
Yeah, he's going to be strutting now, so you have to watch out.
Yeah, strutting is definitely more taxing on the knees.
Yeah. Mac Flerick, will an Ozeki win this tournament?
Unequivocally, maybe.
My gut tells me maybe. I don't know. I do think they're the most talented of the bunch, disregarding Hakuho. And even then, Hakuho, he's like I said, he's still the favorite, but each time as he gets older and older and more surgeries that he has, like his advantage kind of gets knocked down a little bit more.
I think, adding to that, Fleric, I think it's going to come down to if an Ozeki does win, which I do think an Ozeki definitely has the potential to win this one. It's going to come down to Shodai and Asanoyama. I don't think
so?
Takakeisho's got it in him for this one.
Okay, so I'm actually going to disagree with you, right? That Takakeisho looked damn good last time. Like, there's something going on with Asanoyama's mental game. Like, there's a couple people that just have his number. Terunofuji comes to mind. Like, the last two times. Like, Terunofuji was looking a little mediocre against everyone else, but he was able to take down Asanoyama. So until I see, like, anything different from that, I think Takakeisho has his head in the right spot, and you recovered from his injuries. I think he's looking pretty good. I'd honestly, like, I'm still... it's hard to get past my to believe in Shodai. So honestly,
Phrase it correctly.
So
yeah,
Fleric
I would
and
say
Matt,
Takakeisho will probably be my favorite.
Are you guys feeling strongly enough about this to make it interesting and maybe throw a couple of prediction series points on the line?
I think we should move on to the Sekiwake. Ryan, let's talk about the Sekiwake.
No faith. Okay, I would say I would, but if Mac doesn't want to do it, I'm cool with Landon.
All right. You want to put a prediction point on it?
Takakeisho wins. Do we want to include Jin Yusho or just Yusho?
No, you want him to win.
Yeah. Takakeisho Yusho. I'm gonna make you pick one Ozeki though between Asanoyama and Shodai.
Then I pick Asanoyama.
Okay, I like it.
All right, so if Takakeisho gets a Yusho, Fleric gets, and we score a lot more points than we used to. What if we get Fleric 2 bonus points, and then Mac, you said Asanoyama.
Yes.
If he wins, you get 2 bonus points.
And if anyone else wins, they both lose 2 points.
What?
No, I don't agree to
We didn't
this.
talk about that.
Yeah, because I mean, if you're just doing that, then why wouldn't all of us just make random bets where we could get randomly 2 bonus points? There has to be consequences. How strongly do you
I
feel
take it
about
from Mac.
this?
I take it from Mac. So like 2 people have to be.
How about
agreed.
that?
There you go.
If
Okay, yeah.
Takakeisho performs better than Asanoyama, Fleric 2 points, Mac minus 2 points, and then vice versa. Just
Exactly.
better performing.
Yeah, we'll keep a 0-sum.
Yeah,
Okay.
keep 0-sum.
All right. Somebody,
And I'm happy on the sidelines.
yeah, no, me too. I'm good. I don't feel too strongly about any of the Ozeki right now. If I threw my hat behind Shodai, his knee would explode. If I threw my hat behind any of the other guys, Shodai would be a Yokozuna after this tournament. So,
Well, in all likelihood, Hakuho is going to just dominate everything.
there we
Yeah.
go. I'll put 2 points on Hakuho. No, I won't.
Oh,
Sekiwake. So we've got Mitake Yumi still hanging around and have to wonder, is he going to rebound and begin his Ozeki run anew? And no, is my thought on that. And not just because I'm depressed after his last failed Ozeki run where I believed in him. I think it's because the people at the top are different now, and I don't necessarily think Mitake Yumi is one of the top 5 Rikishi in the world anymore. I think you have Shodai, Takakeisho, Asanoyama, who are all obviously ahead of Mitake Yumi. I don't think you can argue that. You have Terunofuji, who is coming up from behind. I think we would all take Terunofuji ahead of Mitake Yumi at this point. You have some interesting...
that
young...
one's debatable.
Yeah.
Injuries
But it's
withstanding.
Yeah, it's at least debatable. It's not like clearly Mitake Yumi.
At the
to
peak
your
of their
count.
game, you would take Terunofuji.
yeah.
I'm still hesitant. I still think it's
Oh.
debatable.
All right. Maybe we'll have that debate later. But then you also have some interesting
This could be a
youngsters.
bet. Who does better?
Could be.
Oh my
Could
God,
be.
move on.
Takumi.
No.
Like-
Come on. Move on.
Kiribayama and Wakataka Kage. Now, I'm not saying they're better than Mitake Yumi, but I'm saying it's different than like old timers like Takada Fuji and Mio Gyiryu. I think these guys have potential to kind of stick around this range, and possibly surpass Mitake Yumi as well. So I think Mitakayumi's like chances at an Ozeki run are just getting slimmer and slimmer as kind of we're weeding out the older guys and replacing them with younger talent.
Yeah, I would totally agree. I think the we always have at least a couple like old dudes lingering towards the top here and there. And going down the list, I wouldn't put anybody into that category until Maegashira 3, where you got Okinoumi.
Mm-hmm.
And then like Maegashira 5, Myogiryu, Maegashira 6, Takufuji, Tamawashi. Like those are the kind of guys that, there's always like a couple old timers lingering up at the top. Takayasu
But now
maybe
we're
debatable.
At like Maegashira 5 through 7
Right,
instead of like
right.
1 through 3 now.
Exactly. So Mitakayumi's not going to face these guys that he's got experience with and a youth advantage. So yeah, I think you may have swayed me a little bit against him with that argument.
I'm trying to find the motivation for this argument. Is it because Ryan has legitimately lost faith in the number of times Mitakayumi has disappointed him? Or does he really feel that way about Mitakayumi in general?
I mean, two things can be true at the same time, Matt.
That's true.
I also think we should start referring to him as Mitake Wake. Or perhaps
Ooh.
Seki Wakeumi. I don't know. I'm going to workshop this. I'll have something by the midway, or I'll forget about it and not care.
I think Mitake Wake
There you go.
is the superior and obvious choice there.
Okay.
Workshop over.
All
now,
right.
I mostly
Good work,
wanted
team.
to get through a Mitakayumi conversation without just saying, oh, yeah, it's cold out. So I wanted to put the meme aside for one tournament and do some actual analysis. But obviously it's
But you
because
couldn't
it's cold and he can't do it. Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
but you couldn't resist.
I couldn't.
resist.
All right. We also have Takanosho, who is making his San Yaku debut. And I feel like we have not given Takanosho nearly his due on this podcast because I don't really... He kind of snuck up on us. And so, Jake, I kind of commanded you on the Botsuke review to do a little mini profile on Takanosho. So what can you tell us about Takanosho so that we know what to look for and why we should cheer for him?
Well, as I start reading his Wikipedia page, I can tell you that his real name is somewhere on here. No, no, but kidding aside, yes, that is exactly the resource that I used. So I took a look at his Wikipedia page, which he has one, so that's something. That's
that test.
He's passed test number 1. But he has been around. He's 25 years old, and he's been around since 2010. So he started as young as you can get. He didn't like go through the university system and get like a leg up or anything like that. He started from the very bottom and pretty quickly, within 2 years, made his way into mid Makushita. And he kind of stagnated there for a little while. It wasn't really until 2017 or so where he kind of turned a corner, and then November of 2017, he made his way to Juryo, and he has been a Sekitori ever since. He briefly made a top division debut in 2018 towards the end of the year, and then took another year in Juryo, and then just totally something clicked in at the end of 2019, and he has rocketed his way up since then. So his career trajectory, other than that weird like 5-year stint where he just had his spot in Makushita, he's basically was a rapid rise, a long plateau, and then another rapid rise. But he's definitely somebody to watch. As far as his wrestling style, he's very pushing focused. About half of all of his wins come by Oshidashi. So roughly 300 or so career wins, 149 of them have been by Oshidashi.
Yeah. This guy reminds me a lot of the I think it was Takayasu and who was the other one? Kiseno Sato. Because he's in the same stable as Takakeisha. So the big thing I remember with Takayasu and Kiseno Sato was when Kiseno Sato was doing good, so was Takayasu. Because they were just training a lot together and they were just kind of just pushing each other to be the best of the best. And when we saw Kiseno Sato get injured, that's kind of when we start not training as much. That's kind of when Takayasu started faltering a little bit. And so and to me, like I have in my head the kind of the same thing with Takanosho and Takakeisho. Takakeisho looked great last time. I think Takanosho, they just been training a lot together and kind of pushing each other to great heights. So that's kind of what I'm kind of keeping an eye out for him for.
Absolutely. So those guys, I'm sure they're helping each other quite a bit. This Chigano-ura stable, by the way, this is the one that absorbed Takanohana stable when Takanohana was forced out / quit. So Takanosho did not start with a whole lot of high-level guys in his stable. It was really that merging that brought in Takanoiwa and Takakeisho that was a big deal. Takagenji and Takano Fuji, the twins, one of whom retired for beating up his Sukebito. Those guys were also part of that merging. So yeah, I think it's very possible, even likely, that influx of decent level talent helped him turn that most recent corner here. The other thing that I thought was kind of funny is the most success he's had in an individual tournament was he made it into a Juryo playoff in 2018, and he lost to Takanoiwa, who very shortly after became his stablemate by them absorbing the other stable. And the reason that I'm talking purely about his like in-ring career is because I cannot find anything worth mentioning about him outside of the ring. He's not a particularly interesting, at least as far as like he doesn't come from like a big sumo family or anything. He doesn't have any sort of like legendary mythology that he's built up climbing up the ranks or anything like that. He's just kind of a average size, mostly pusher thruster kind of dude. And I think it's just the, like we said, it's the training partners and just the point in his career that he's at. He's at 25, so he's kind of coming into like his absolute physical peak here. It's just been enough for him to turn that corner and make his way to the top. As far as how high he can go, I think it's very possible that he could end up going even higher. The last two tournaments, he's gotten 8 wins and then 10 wins, fully in the joy, and I think that is very impressive for somebody who's only 25. He doesn't have like a deep depth of top level experience, so it's possible we could see him keep this run going
all the way to the top.
You want to bet some points on it if he'll be Yokozuna next tournament?
Next tournament?
Yes.
All right. So
not. I'm assuming you were taking the other side.
Fleric seems very optimistic, so I think we'll all get a point from Fleric if Takanosho isn't Yokozuna by January.
Let me rerun the math on that one, and I'll get back to you guys.
Yeah, no, he's a guy to watch for sure, but yeah, he's on the other hand, he could, with his pusher thruster style and forgettable physical appearance, I feel like it's also very possible that he just becomes Daisho too.
Ooh. I was literally just about to ask you, Jake, is Takanosho greater than or less than our previous Shin Sekewake Daisho?
I would be very hesitant to make a call. It's I say it's more likely that he fizzles out, at least for the moment, just because he put together 2 tournaments against guys that he has not really faced before, guys that haven't faced him. So I think it's more likely that as those guys get to know him, he gets pushed back down a ways. But it's not impossible that he keeps his way up.
Yeah, I think they are 2 very similar guys in that they both rely on the pushing, thrusting. I just looked at both of their wins by Kimarite, mostly Daisho. So the second most common technique used by Takanosho is Yorikiri. So he's very meat and potatoes, Rikishi, but he's not like Takakeisho, who can't touch the belt or he'll die. If you look at Daisho, Yorikiri is his like 6th most used winning type. So he is even more focused on the pushing thrusting. So I think Takanosho having a little bit more roundness in his game profile.
Lol.
I would give the edge long term to Takanosho at this point. I don't know. I'm kind of really positive on him. I think it's really because he debuted in the Joy and then got 2 straight winning records. That really impressed me. So I don't know. I think Takanosho could stick around for a little
Hey,
while.
let me have a quick counterpoint to your better rounded idea here. He has his Yorikiri wins. Only 2 of them have come in the top. 3 of them have come in the top division. The last time he won by Yorikiri, the last 2 times he won by Yorikiri, were against Ishiura almost a year ago.
Oh, wow.
So I don't think that necessarily bodes too well for saying that he's got a good grappling game.
Well, he's learned from Takakeisho that
I'm
the
just
belt
saying
is lava, and so
I'm just saying.
push and you win.
Yeah, it's not
The
necessarily
option exists should it come to that.
fair enough. I'm just saying that the sheer number of Yorikiri wins that he has, being that they were all like years ago, may not necessarily be the best indicator.
All right, let's move down and talk about our Komosubi. And we're actually going to spend more than 20 seconds on our Komosubi this tournament because they're not comprised of Daisho, Okinoumi, and Endo. So Terano Fuji is back in the Sanyaku ranks for the first time since November of 2017. And this will actually be his first time as a Komosubi in his entire career, as when he was coming up in the rankings, he skipped over it to Sekiwake and never dropped down from that point. And except for when he was coming down from the rankings, he did so poorly that he had to skip over Komosubi to drop down the rankings. So he did pull out of the previous tournament due to, I think it was osteoarthritis in his knee, which, as we've alluded to, his knees are 98 years old. But he has been doing his typical practice. So at least for now, his knees are holding up. And he says that he's focusing on returning Ozeki in the next 3 tournaments. He said the next 3 basho are important, and if there's a chance, I'd like to grab it. He kind of went on to say that pretty much his knees are a ticking time bomb, and he has no idea how long he has left to do sumo. And so he's really focusing on getting back to Ozeki as soon as possible. Takayasu is also back in the Sanyaku ranks after a bit of an absence. For him, just since January was the last time he was in Sanyaku. He's going to be Komosubi for the first time since January of 2017. Per Kintamayama, our testicle mountain, he said that he looked very strong in the joint practice that they had in mid-October. He has reiterated that despite all of his injuries he's kind of accumulated over the past year, that he is a long way from Intai yet. He wants to do sumo until his firstborn, which is not yet born, is old enough to understand what Papa is doing, and he has also hinted at wanting to regain the Ozeki rank. So, Fleric, we have 2 former Ozeki that have said that they want to get back to that rank. Which Komosubi do you feel like is more likely to achieve that rank again?
That's interesting. We have what? Young guy Terano Fuji, who's a proven champion. He's got himself a Yusho. And then we got old guy Takayasu, who's coming off 2 10-5s. I guess he's 30 versus 26, 28?
28, I think. Terano Fuji might have rounded the corner on 29.
Yeah.
He'll turn 29 at the end of November.
Okay, so plenty of time. Yeah, it's tough. You probably have to give it to Takayasu, but I don't know, that Yusho's worth something. But consistency, I didn't see it last basho, so I'm not terribly convinced. And I think, like he said himself, his knees are ticking time bombs. You gotta give it to Takayasu. But I will say this basho, where they're both at Komosubi and they're both 2 former Ozeki who want to reclaim the rank, is one of the most interesting and compelling things of this basho, I think. This is super fascinating. I hope honestly, it would be great if they both get double-digit wins, 11 or so, and this just keeps on going on to the next year.
Yeah, they could easily jump in front of Mitake Yumi for that next Ozeki hopeful slot. It's interesting. Yeah. I was thinking to myself earlier this week, it's who do I think would be the next Ozeki? And it might be Terano Fuji or Takayasu. Both of those guys have been doing really well recently. If I were to... I can't flip-flop. I said I don't have hope in Terano Fuji after he pulled out of the last tournament. So, yeah, I guess I would go with Takayasu by default because I don't think Terano Fuji can hold himself together for 3 straight tournaments. at this high of a level. Because, I mean, he did do 2 straight Juryo and then his Maegashira 17 Yusho win. So he did have 3 straight where he got 13, 10, and 13, albeit at very low ranks. So I'm not by any means saying anything. I'm just saying he can put 3 tournaments in a row where he does well. But I don't know. I got really scared with him pulling out, not due to like a new injury that seemingly happened on the dohyo, just something with existing in his knees kind of
wear and tear,
and he couldn't do it anymore. So that really scares me. So I would say Takayasu, but I don't have a whole lot of faith that Takayasu is going to do it, honestly.
Really? Why do you say that?
I think he's mentioned that he, at the joint practice, that he's kind of adjusted his sumo to kind of deal with the injuries that he has. And so if the injury is so bad that you need to try a different kind of sumo and do that, I think it's too late in your career at 30 years old to be doing a kind of refined or new style of sumo. And that means that injury is still going to be bothering you. And I mean, to make it to Ozeki, you've got to be in pretty good shape. I don't think Takayasu is going to get in that shape.
What do you mean, Ryan? Because when Kodo Shogaku switched to face down, ass up, that's the way we like to sumo. Everything went great for him.
Is that Juryo 3 Kodo Shogaku you're speaking of?
Yeah, everything's going just solid for Kodo Shogaku.
Yeah, so I don't have high hopes for either of these guys, really. It would be an amazing story, but it's not one that I expect to be discussing on this podcast outside of theoreticals.
Interesting. I would say I would not be surprised if either of them get Ozeki back. And I would definitely put them above Mitake Yumi for both of them, just because they're hungry. And like, even though Takayasu might be like a little bit less than what he was before, I think he still has a great build, and he has a great sumo mind of where he's like changing his technique. And he has definitely the back hair too. You can't forget about that. And the stage, I guess like even like him being a little bit below while he's like figuring out his injury, I still think he's a fantastic sumo tori. I still think he can maybe do some work.
What about you, Mac?
Between the two, I would definitely just go with Takayasu. Only Terunofuji's knees being the ticking time bomb, and the way that he had to bow out in the last tournament just to preserve his health, I don't think he's going to last long.
You don't even need to ask me. You know what it says on my wall.
It says Takayasu in like 5 different places. All right, so let's drop down. Kind of alluded to them earlier, but we've got a couple of newcomers at the Maegashira 1 rank. This is the most hype Maegashira 1 rank that I've ever seen. Kiribayama is the top-ranked Maegashira in just his 5th Makuuchi basho, and you have Wakataka Kage is Maegashira 1 West in his 4th Makuuchi basho. Haven't heard a whole lot of training news about Wakataka Kage. I can only assume that means he's as healthy as you can be in sumo and is doing fine. For Kiribayama, however, he had to pull out of the Aki tournament with that shoulder injury for a few days. He did manage to come back in and get 3 wins to get that 9-6 record, but it sounds like that shoulder is still bothering him. He took part in the joint practice, but about a week ago, he wasn't doing any practice. So he wasn't practicing against Kakuryu, which meant Kakuryu wasn't getting any good practice. Not that Kakuryu was doing much anyway. He could be back doing sumo practice now. I haven't heard any updates on Kiribayama recently. But I still think he has proven he can fight through that shoulder injury and get a good record. So do you guys think I have high hopes for both of these guys. I think Kiribayama has potential to be future Ozeki. I don't know about Wakataka Kage yet, but I'm really high on Kiribayama. I think Wakataka Kage could at least be like Endo, Hokuto Fuji, and hang around in the Joy for a long time. But that could just be because I really like Wakataka Kage.
You just like saying his name.
So, I mean, who doesn't? Except for Flair.
Waka Waka who?
So, do you... So do you guys think either, neither, or both of these guys will be Joy or Sanyaku mainstays in their career? Mac, what do you think?
I think that both of them are going to be Joy and Sanyaku mainstays. In looking at Wakataka Kage's record now, he's posted double digits all the way up until this point. And we've seen, I really like his style of sumo. Love with the right hand grip. He's pushing. He's a pusher, thruster. He can handle all kinds of stuff on the belt. I think he's got what it takes to stay up in the high ranks. And as you've alluded to with Kiribayama, the guy can fight through a shoulder injury, beat other guys of higher caliber. I think both of these guys definitely can stay if they stay healthy.
Yeah, and the guys that he beat with that injured shoulder, Sekiwake Daisho, Komosubi Okinoumi, and Sekiwake Mitake Yumi, all with a very clearly injured shoulder. So I don't know if that just says something poorly about those three guys, or if it says something highly about Kiribayama. But either way,
let's be positive with this, Ryan. Let's just say Kiribayama is that good.
What about you, Flarek? What do you think of these two youngins?
I do like the praise of Kiribayama, but I don't know. I need to see more before I think they're going to be mainstays in Sanyaku and Joy. Like Mac was talking about, like how Wakataka Kage has a 10-5, 10-5, 11-4 on his way up. But we've seen countless people do really well in like low to middle Banzuke, but as soon as they hit that Joy and hit the wall that is the Sanyaku, they just kind of like knock back down. And we saw that from Kiribayama actually already, before he got to Maegashira 3 West, and when he went down with a 6 and 9. He might be coming back up again, but definitely I'm not seeing anything that's Sanyaku, because I think the people above them are just better at the moment. And I'm just not convinced on Wakataka Kage yet until I see him face up with the Joy schedule.
What about you, Jake?
But I do like Kiribayama, though. I do like his
There you
moves. I'm hoping for the best.
Yeah, I'm 100% with you, Flair. Kiribayama in particular is exciting to watch, but like you said, 4 basho, 5 basho, way too early for me to know anything about them long term. It could very well still be the case that it's just people that aren't familiar with them, so they're able to get the jump on them more often than not. I don't know. I'm very hesitant to say anything with confidence. I kind of hope that Kiribayama in particular sticks around, just again because he's very exciting to watch.
They have high wiliness factor.
Yes, that is an excellent way to put it.
Some say the most important factor in all of sumo wrestling.
Especially Enho.
Oh, yeah. Every single time Enho levels up, he puts max points into wiliness.
All right, let's jump around the Banzuke a little bit more. Daisho did not do well at his first tournament at the Sekiwake rank. Do we think he is going to have a bounce-back tournament this time? I think Daisho gets an 8-7 at least. I don't think he's gonna get like the 11-4 that he had at Komosubi, because we have to remember there were 2 Fusen wins that aided him to that record. But I do think Daisho is probably gonna be maybe not replacing Endo or Hokuto Fuji, but he's gonna be a guy that's just continuously at that Joy level, not necessarily Sanyaku mainstay, but at that Joy level. So I think Daisho ends up like 8-7, 9-6 this tournament. Kagayaki, all of our favorite wrestlers, all of ours, whatever. I messed up the phrasing on that, and I'm not going to recover. Leave this in. I don't care. Kagayaki is in the Joy. He is clearly one of our favorites on the podcast. Because we get to make fun of him at the end of every tournament, because he never accomplishes anything of merit. But since he is in the Joy, that gives him more chances to accumulate accolades. Jake, are we going to be forced to stop mocking Kagayaki by the time we record the review episode for this tournament?
I absolutely am not going to stop no matter what happens. And I will certainly make no mention of the fact that he's ranked as the 12th best wrestler at sumo in the entire world. I certainly won't make any sort of point about the fact that he's in a position that he could get one of those early day Kinboshi off of an injured Yokozuna who's thinking about joining. I won't make any mention whatsoever of the fact that he was Maegashira 6 and still got a winning record to propel him up several ranks higher into this Joy. None of that is going to come up at all. So I think we're good.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Good on you.
We've got Toby Zaru, the darling of the Aki tournament. He is jumping up 10 ranks this basho from Maegashira 14 all the way up to Maegashira 4 in just his second Makuuchi basho. He did get a little lucky, potentially, because as it stands right now, he is just outside of the Joy, just outside of those top 16 Rikishi. But if there is one Rikishi that pulls out Kakuryu, he will face a full Sanyaku schedule, and he already has to face a couple of guys in the Sanyaku ranks because Takakeisho can't fight Takanosho and vice versa, so they would have to drop down a little bit further in the rankings to pull up their 15th opponent, which at this point would be Toby Zaru. So, Mac, what are our expectations for Toby Zaru at M4? We're not talking about him the same way like Kiribayama and Wakataka Kage, are we?
Well, we're going to go off of an old quote from way back in history, but fly, monkey, fly. Yes, that's right. I went there. Thank you, Sheik.
As it fly
Sheik,
off the dojo
anyway,
because all these top
case,
rank
I
go
think, God, I just derailed myself. Anyway, I do great.
I love it.
I don't know what happened, but
I do think he's going to do great.
Is what I heard.
Yes. Go Toby Zaru, go. He's done good against Shodai. He can hang with Takakeisho. He beat Takanosho. I see nothing but good things for him.
I think I'm gonna play the part of Jake here because I know Jake's thinking it. I think this is gonna be a big drop down for Toby Zaru after this tournament.
Wake up call.
What?
How can
Wait,
you say
not
that
you
after
too,
he
Jake?
jumps 10 ranks?
Jake? You too?
There are way more people.
Too?
There are
Jake?
way more people who get killed when they have a jump like this than there are people who continue to succeed when they have a jump like this.
Yeah. But
I don't know.
this is
This
but
is the
you're
flying
thinking with
monkey,
your
man.
brain. You're thinking with your brain. You have to think. You have to think like a sumo wrestler. You have to think with your gut. And what does your gut tell
That
you?
Toby Zaru is going to do very poorly this tournament.
Yeah, it's definitely telling me the same thing as my brain.
I don't know what you guys are eating, but it's definitely not Chanko.
Fleric, we can both confidently say Toby Zaru is going to be okay.
No, I was going to say I will offer up some prediction series points, but I don't want to give like either of you two guys potential like 4+ points. And I know Jake is on the same side as me, so I'm not going to make a bet with him about Toby Zaru. So you have escaped at this point.
Interesting. There you go. Okay, so you're not confident in it, is what I'm hearing.
No, I'm confident. Okay. I just don't want to potentially give you guys extra points because crazy things happen.
Yeah, because just in case that you're 100% sure confidence doesn't work out. Mm-hmm. It's okay. It's cool.
You're not goading me into
We can move on.
Eric. You're close, but I'm just barely holding off. All right. Kodo Shoho is another guy that is flying up the ranks. He is jumping up from Maegashira 12 to Maegashira 5. Fleric, this is a guy that there's a lot of future Ozekis we've talked about on this podcast, and we've annoyed Jake quite a bit by calling Kodo Shoho one of those in the past. So how do you think Kodo Shoho is going to do at his highest career rank, where he is outside of the Joy, so he might get a little luck and not have to face everybody at those Sanyaku ranks?
True. Like, is he right behind Toby Zaru?
He's at Maegashira 5 West, so he's 2 behind Toby Zaru.
Okay, so he has a couple people who can step out. I don't know. I kind of categorize him with a lot of different people. In the sense that he's kind of a young guy with showing a lot of promise and a lot of talent. So I expect good things. He's, I guess, not as much as Toby Zaru. At least I'm not as hype on him because he's I don't know. I when I watch him, he seems very strong. He looks and he does like some very solid sumo. So I do have a lot of high hopes for him, but I just, since I'm not as hyped, I keep my expectations low. I expect like a low, like 8-7 Kachikoshi. That's kind of where I'm kind of putting my thoughts on with him. I think he'll stick around here, but we'll see whether or not he is above everyone else. I am not convinced.
Gotcha. All right, Jake. Doing a little something a little different this time. I assigned everybody a range of ranks to kind of choose a Rikishi or two they want to talk about. So, Jake, who did you select from the ranks Maegashira 8 to Maegashira 6 to Maegashira 8?
That is worth a little bit more conversation.
Yes.
I would say Tochi Noshin. He was at Maegashira 4 last time, and he didn't do terribly. He got a 6 and 9. And I think getting bumped out of the Joy, and at Maegashira 7, he's probably going to stay out of the Joy. I think he is in a good position for a pretty solid Kachikoshi.
All right. Mac, from Maegashira 9 to Maegashira 11, who did you want to just talk about a little bit more?
That would be Maegashira 10 West Meisei. After a fall from grace back in past November, he was Maegashira 2 and has done very poorly. Went all the way back down to Juryo, got a 10 and 5, and he's been working his way back up and currently at Maegashira 10 West.
All right. I gave myself Maegashira 12 to Maegashira 14. I wanted to talk a little bit more about Hoshoryu. He's just finished his first tournament. He got an 8 and 7 record. Looked like he was kind of fighting some injuries in that tournament. I think he's still in a very good spot to get another winning record at the lower Maegashira ranks. I honestly expect a better record than what he had last time. I can't find it immediately, but there's some reports from Sumo Follower talking to him, talking about Asashoryu, offering him some advice and just wanting to perform to show Asashoryu that he is good and he can kind of live up to his sumo. So
some Zoom call coaching of him just yelling across the phone.
Oh, I found it. So Hoshoryu said he took the previous basho as a learning experience, and this basho he intends to show the fruits of that learning. He got his Kachikoshi on his uncle's birthday, and he said, I just got a Kachikoshi. I'm glad he didn't get mad at me because he just barely got a Kachikoshi. I
like it.
Excited to see what Hoshoryu does this tournament. Fleric, who did you select from the remainder of the Bansuke?
All right, so if you're looking for Rikishi to keep an eye out at the bottom of the Bansuke, look no further than M16 Chia Shoma. This is the bad boy leather mawashi wearing Mongolian belt wrestler.
The worldwide jumping wonder of the sumo world.
Yeah, he's not afraid to henka. That is
the
true.
Flying henka.
Yeah, so he's someone who's been around for a while, but if you're a little bit newer, he's been kind of down in Juryo, so you probably haven't seen too much about him. But he's from Mongolia, and he's kind of that style who likes to do some good old belt yotsu work, which I always enjoy. And the other lots of throws, and the other big thing I like is he's not afraid to henka. He's not afraid to do the kind of like a bad thing to get his win if he feels he needs to, and that's something I always enjoy. So I miss the guy. I'm glad he's back, and I hope he hankas every match, and it's going to be great. Keep an eye out for him.
I mean, it's probably going to be the only way that he would get a winning record.
Ooh, maybe.
Ouch. All right. We do have one new Rikishi joining the Makuuchi ranks for the first time, and it is Aqua. He is in the Tatsunami Beya, along with Meisei and Hoshoryu. So these are actually the three guys that had the Tomoe Sen at the crazy Juryo playoff a couple of basho ago. So he is going to be 30 years old when the basho starts. His birthday is on November 6th, so that's coming up right around the corner. He debuted as Toyo no Nami and switched his Shikona to Aqua in March of 2014. This is actually another member of the No Accolades Club, along with like Kageyaki and Koto Yuki, as he has not won any lower division Yusho. And he's been doing sumo for quite a while. He went through the lower three ranks decently well, and he's been in Makushita since May, or he started in Makushita in May of 2013. So he got up to Juryo for the first time in 2018 and was immediately booted back down to Makushita. And he did that twice in 2018, where he got up to Juryo and then did poorly and went back down to Makushita. He rejoined Juryo in November of 2019, and he has since gotten back-to-back 10-win basho to make it to the Makuuchi division for the first time in his career.
I have a quote of him kind of talking about his age, because he is 30, which is usually kind of like on the upper towards like the twilight of people's sumo career.
Mhm.
And he was talking about a time like when he was training with Harumafuji, I think about 3 years ago. And like he said, Harumafuji addressed me and asked me how old I was. And I answered, already 27. And he corrected me and said like I was just 27. And that's why I realized it's important to say just. And like so like when people ask his age, he said, I'm just 30. So he has a good mindset, I would say, on age to hopefully do well in Makuuchi.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. I mean, he's got back-to-back double-digit winning tournaments, and we've seen a lot of luck from the guys that are making their debut to Makuuchi. Hoshoryu and Toby Zaru both made their Makuuchi debuts last time and both ended up with winning records, and Toby Zaru made quite a few waves. And Toby Zaru is another guy who is older. I believe Toby Zaru is 29 when he made his debut, or 28 years old. So these older guys making their debut,
They can bring it.
They can
Yeah.
make an impact on the tournament. So
Don't
we'll see
forget
if
about
Aqua
Tokushoryu.
can do the same. Well, when did Tokushoryu
But
make
he
his
did
I'm
win
saying,
a
like,
tournament.
debut?
He's older
I mean, he was
and
an older
he
guy.
he won. I'm just saying, like, these, like you say, these older guys coming in,
All right.
they have a shot, they have a chance to shake stuff up.
Fleric's just reminding us that there is no point at which we can ever predict anything ever.
Did you guys forget that Tokushoryu won a Yusho?
Yeah, so just so everybody knows, Tokushoryu made his Makuuchi debut in 2013, which is 7 years ago, which would have made him 27 years old at the time of his Makuuchi debut. And he did not make a dent in the Makuuchi division until 7 years later. All right, down to Juryo. We have to say hello again to everybody's favorite pink boy, Ura. He is back as a Sekitori after he tore his ACL when he was at the top of the Maegashira ranks a couple of years ago. He had that false start in his comeback where I think he made it back to Makushita before he re-injured his leg. Might have made it just back to Sandanme. Re-injured his leg, had to sit out for a while, but now he's back. He's in Juryo. And there's a sweet story that I saw. Sumo follower had posted this on Twitter, and pretty much all the quotes that I've had in this entire podcast are from Sumo follower's Twitter account. Just always need to make sure we're giving her all the credit she deserves for providing us the English information that she reads in the Japanese articles. So he is going to be having a new Kesho Mawashi this tournament, and it was designed by an 88-year-old fan, Miss Sakai. She felt that her and Ura had something in common as they both continuously fight health issues, Ura with his knee and Miss Sakai with a reoccurring illness that she has. They met on a Jungyo Tour event in 2018 in Kyushu, so it was around this time in 2018, and she promised to design the Kesho Mawashi when he regained Sekitori status. The design that he requested is the Japanese character for technique in a pink font. Of course, it's pink for Ura. She said that she wants to meet him again, but can't since she lives in Kyushu and the basho is not held there this year, and she has promised to live another year so that she can meet him again. Ura said that this will remind me that there are people who draw encouragement for my performance and serve as a source of motivation.
Are you trying to make us cry? Seriously, that's
I just thought that was a
beautiful.
really cool story.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
About Ura.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I was trying. Did it work?
It's beautiful. Shut up.
It didn't work at all.
So yeah, if anybody needed another reason to cheer for Ura, or if you're new to sumo and want a guy in Juryo to cheer for Ura. He deserves it for all the right reasons.
Do it for Miss Sakai.
Yeah. We also have Shohos on, but especially in Koto Shogiku. I think Jake brought up on our Bonsuke review episode that's going to be like the first time since like I think 2005 since Koto Shogiku has been in the Juryo division.
Yes, approximately
so
1 million years ago.
Yeah. Which is significant for a former Ozeki because he will only be the fourth ever former Ozeki to actually compete when in Juryo after dropping from the Ozeki rank. So in 1977, there was a former Ozeki Daiju who went 0-3 in Juryo in his first Juryo tournament that he participated in, and then he retired. So he was having none of that. This is an interesting case that I didn't really know about. Miyabiyama became an Ozeki in his early in his career in 2000, and he dropped from the Ozeki rank in 2001. He continued to wrestle for 12 years post Ozeki rank, including one basho in Juryo in 2010, where he competed, came back to the Makuuchi division until 2013, where he dropped down to Juryo again, went 3-12, and then retired after that tournament. And then, of course, the other guy would be Teruno Fuji, and we know his story at this point. So doesn't happen often where you see a former Ozeki competing in Juryo. But Kodo Shogiku says that I don't want to retire having been defeated by injury. He says his calf is mostly back and he is practicing again. So if Kodo Shogiku is feeling it, we could see him back in Makuuchi. But I think if he gets a losing record here, that could very well spell doom for him.
It's nice to know that his calf is back. I was curious where it had gone.
It certainly wasn't there in the previous tournament. So if you were crying before about Ura, don't put those tissues away quite yet. We have some more depressing Kakuryu news. So the old Izutsu stable is being torn down. So Kakuryu was in the Izutsu Beya for the entirety of his career until the Oyakata's death, where the Michinoku Beya absorbed those Izutsu Rikishi. So it's been just a little over a year since Izutsu Oyakata's death, and that's when they are tearing down the former stable. Izutsu Oyakata's widow said that she wanted to live there till she died, but it wasn't realistic as she's just one person and it's a 3-story building. She said it's an older building built in 1973 and that it is just too much for one person. Izutsu Oyakata, before he died, said he wanted to make it into a multi-storied building, which it already is because it's 3 stories. Might be something lost in
Even
translation.
More
But he wanted to make it into a multi-story building after his retirement, and so that lot is going to become a high-standard apartment building once they're done with that. And so Kakuryu recently visited the premises and said, it was like a home to me. I can't believe it's going to be wrecked. It's going to stay in pictures and videos, of course. The memories are not going to go away even when the building is, not as long as I live. And then he also said, just sitting there made me burst into tears. So sad month for Kakuryu, just nothing going that man's way. And the more I read about him, just the more he sounds like the nicest fella in the world. And this is why I don't get into the personal stuff of Rikishi too much, because I don't want to care about them. I want to be able to be mean about them because of their performance on the dojo and not care about the actual person. But damn it if Kakuryu's not making that hard.
As somebody who has had the shit beaten out of them by 2020, I can totally relate. I think these last couple stories have turned me around on Kakuryu just a little bit.
It might be too late for us, though. He's probably retiring very soon.
He may never wrestle again now that I like him.
Yeah. If anyone else has also turned around on Kakuryu, we have some Kakuryu lunchboxes, some Kakuryu placemats in the
Keychains?
Grand Sumo Breakdown keychains as well, and the Grand Sumo Breakdown store at fake.grandsumobreakdown.store.com.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fake. All right.
Check it out.
We're going to give everybody a little bit of time to check out that wonderful fake store and to dry their tears after the happy story with Ura and the very depressing story with Kakuryu. So we'll take a quick break and we will be back with our predictions. All right, we are back. Jake, do you want to give a quick update on where our GSB belt resides?
Chino Kuni's got it.
Perfect. And
Boom.
we're going
to... yeah, I do have a little bit more.
Okay.
Wait, M14? Chio no Kuni?
So our GSB belt, the very first match of the very first match of the Kyushu tournament of 2019, so a year ago this Sunday, was the introduction of the GSB belt, and the very first match that happened at that tournament was Yu Takanami versus Okuni Asahi, in Jonokuchi. And since then, the winner has taken the belt and given it to somebody else when they are defeated, and so on and so on. Ura had it for most of 2020. And then Chiyanokuni had it for most of the second half of 2020. And because basically nobody has been able to beat Chiyanokuni, he now, in 1 year, has yanked the belt all the way up into the top division. So this is pretty fast progress. I think this is pretty cool. Just as a refresher, in the case studies that I did before we started this exercise, it generally took 1.5 to 2 years for the belt to get from Jonakuchi up to a Yokozuna. And it very well could happen within the next couple tournaments here and be a little bit faster than I anticipated. So pretty cool.
Theoretically could happen this tournament. And I think we're going to, once it hits a Yokozuna, we're going to
we'll talk about it when
over.
we get there. I mean, it depends. Do we want it to end a tournament on a Yokozuna? Do we want it to just hit a Yokozuna, even if that guy pulls out later or loses later or what have you? I don't know. We'll see what happens. It's a problem we're going to have to deal with a little bit sooner than I anticipated we would.
Yeah, and it's a problem I'm very concerned about. So that's going to
no
weigh
sleep
heavily
for
on
me
my
tonight
mind until we get there. All right, let's move on to our prediction series, our champs and chumps. So we are going to each of us will select a champ, the Rikishi that we think is going to do the best this tournament. Each Rikishi can only be selected once. So if with the first pick, Flarex selects Hakuho, nobody else can select Hakuho to be their champ. And the same story for the chump, except we're selecting people who we think will do poorly. So let's dive right into it. Flarek, is Hakuho going to be your champ?
This is the worst part about starting first. You have to make that decision. But I am gonna have to go with Hakuho. I will. I believe. Hopefully that doctor's appointment goes well.
All right. So we need to settle something real quick. Jake and I tied for 2nd/3rd place in our previous standings. So we need a quick tiebreaker to determine which one of us will select second. Flarek, I believe you said a die roll would do it.
Yep.
I take even numbers.
All right.
Jake
odd
spoke
numbers.
first. And we have odd.
Damn.
So that is Ryan.
Sweet.
Wait, so if
if
Odd is in favor of Ryan, that means he did better and therefore would be later in the order for picking, right?
You shut your mouth. Ryan goes next.
I will select Asanoyama.
Okay. It was the Asanoyama roll.
Oh, there's no way he was getting to you, man.
Yeah.
I was hoping for it.
Yeah, so now we're at the stage where there was number 1 and number 2 for me, and then there were like 12 guys tied for my next pick. I'm very tempted to pick Shodai just because of recency bias. Very tempted to pick Takakeisho because of history. Same with Mitakayumi. Terunofuji, I just really don't trust, and I'm really just using this to buy time. I think I'm going to end up losing again based on this pick. I'm going to go with Takakeisho.
There you go.
I honestly thought that was going Takeyasu's way.
Yeah, he was in there. He was like the next tier down, though.
I just remember when I selected Takayasu to be my champ one time, he went 0-15.
Ah, yes.
That was not a good idea.
I'm going to go wild with this one. I'm going to go Takanosho.
Ooh, I like this a lot.
Mac,
we're getting weird.
Shot.
Yeah.
It's getting weird.
We're getting freaky up in here.
And now is probably
You want to get nuts?
Yeah, Mac wants to get nuts. All Michael Keaton Batman
Let's
style.
get nuts.
Now is as good a time as any to bring it up, but as we kind of decided on the fly last tournament, if your champ or if one of the guys you pick pulls out, that Fusen match still counts. The Fusen win or loss on the record, but from the next day after they are officially absent, you have to select somebody else that has the same number of wins. Or when we're talking chump, basically you have to pick somebody who is at the exact same level or worse for you than the guy that had to pull out of the tournament. So we'll make a note of that if it happens when Flarek's pick Hakuho pulls out on day 2.
You shut your mouth.
Yes.
Don't put that juju on Hakuho.
All right, Mac, you had the last champ pick, but you get the first chump pick.
I was talking to Flarek before this episode. I'm like, this champ you have a better idea for, but the jump, I'm like, oh, there are so many possibilities.
Yeah. I not to get too much into it, but like I feel like everyone's at kind of a rank where they belong for the most part. Like I think everyone's gonna do pretty all right.
There's
But go ahead,
one
Mac.
guy that Show. He fell at this rank in the past, and I think given the heightened level of competition, he's going to get just a little too overzealous, and that's going to be game over.
You fool! You left that pick sitting right out there for me. Toby Zaru is my pick.
Damn it! What? I knew he wasn't.
I'm
getting
trying
past
to make
you.
it interesting.
No. It was the low-hanging fruit.
Mac, these guys are fools. They think Toby Zaru is gonna lose.
I know. These
But-
fools.
That is okay, because that means Kagayaki is still available for Ryan to select as his jump. And so Ryan is a happy boy.
Oh wow, my first choice is still around. I have to make a decision. Ugh.
Who was your first choice? Was it Wakataka Kage?
No, not Wakataka Kage. He was my third. I would say.
Okay.
But
Is this going to be the first time that we have somebody who is on the champ list and the chump list? Are you thinking Takanosho?
No, I'm not thinking Takanosho. That it's kind of a good idea, but I do.
He's thinking Asanoyama. Yep, I'll write it in.
No.
There
Yeah,
we
write
go.
it down. It's on the sheet now, the Google sheet.
No. As I was looking down at the bottom of the Banzuke, I noticed that there's also this Rikishi named Kota Yuki. So I'm gonna have to go with him.
Oh, that's my boy.
Although to make probably a lot of people sad, I almost picked Enho, but
Ooh.
I think I'm gonna try to keep be in the audience's good favor and not wish him bad stuff.
Yeah, we gotta just wait for Enho to get another like 9 or 10 win tournament from the low ranks and get over promoted, and then he will be just like absolute fodder for a chump pick.
Yeah.
So a little news on Koto Yuki. It sounds like he had, I believe it was elbow surgery not too long ago, but he is still planning on participating in the tournament and just kind of going in without any practice. So Fleric may have won the game.
Yeah, that's the dumb old school sumo mentality that I think is going to get me many points.
Here it is. So Koto Yuki had surgery on his left knee on the 14th. So knee, not elbow. And it's only been a week since he's been released from the hospital. He can't practice sumo at the time, but he's working on his upper body. He says he had the surgery with the intention not to miss the November basho, and that there is a possibility he will participate without any preparation. But he will make the decision only about a week from now, which is just prior to the tournament.
Okay. I will remove some suspense just in case he goes out before the basho starts out. I will pick Enho in that regard, but I'm still going to stick with
I think
Koto Yuki.
that's perfectly fair. I don't think anybody has any issues with that. All right. So, yeah. So it looks like Fleric was our last loser, but typically our loser draws from the Bull O punishments to determine what the next punishment is. However, the Takayasu teacup of whatever.
Yes.
Resides.
The Takayasu
Yes.
teacup of podcast petty
Yes.
cash and punishments.
That resides in Jake's household. So, Jake, why don't you pull out the punishment and reveal it to all of us?
Okay, let's see here. It looks like we have $24 and several punishments left to go. No, I was just taking stock because I haven't touched it since last time we drew a punishment, and there's like no reason for cash to change hands at any point. Not during COVID, where you guys haven't even been here to give me cash for anything.
Right?
Anywho, here we go. We have a punishment. This is one we actually have not done before. The loser must recreate the dialogue of a movie scene of the winner's choice with sumo-themed dialogue.
I like it. Bust out the acting chops. We'll have to choose. If Fleric loses, inevitably, we will have to choose like a foreign movie, probably in like a foreign language, to force him to try to match that.
Fleric has never had to sing, so maybe we could look at a musical movie.
Ooh, like
I'm not sure if that.
La La
I'm not sure if
Land?
that counts.
Is that what it's called? La La Land?
I'm not
I was
sure if that
thinking-
counts.
The Sound of Music, honestly.
Or what about Chicago?
Ooh, there you go.
Ooh, Chicago.
All right, so we've got Fleric's
am-
punishment planned out here.
Come on, Kota Yuki. I don't mean that, but more so but come on, who's the other guy? Hakuho. Let's go
There you
Hakuho. I'm going to say that one instead.
Who's the other guy?
All right. Let's move on. We got another voicemail that we need to play because, much to my chagrin, there has been a lot of mention in recent podcasts about or joking that Fleric is a racist. And I think this next voicemail will assuage everybody that Fleric is not a racist, but it also shows the kind of reasons why you shouldn't make jokes about this, because it could turn people off. Luckily, this person was able to see through the joking, but we'll just play it and let everybody listen to it.
Hey guys, this is first time caller. I'm a long time listener. I'm from Mauricio from Monterrey, Mexico. I don't know if you guys have many fans listening from Mexico, but like honestly, I hadn't called before because I was a little bit intimidated. You guys being from the U.S. and me being from Mexico, and I know like Fleric, he's like super racist. You guys always say that. So thankfully that you cleared it up in that last episode where you mentioned that it was all a joke. So now I like him and it's cool. But imagine how much I like your show. Even thinking you had a super racist guy there, I'm still like listening every time I can. So congratulations on a great show, and I can't wait for the next basho. It's gonna be great. By the way, my pick for that basho is I think Shota is going to repeat. Yeah, if he fights the way he did, I think he could even beat the Yokozuna. Right, later guys. Thank you. Congratulations on the podcast.
So can we put the Fleric is racist joke to bed now? Please?
Yeah, what did
Absolutely.
we learn?
Until next time the rap battle punishment comes up. Or if he loses and we pick some sort of racially charged movie scene for him.
Oh dear.
Oh, goodness. Please no.
No Quentin Tarantino for Fleric. Absolutely no Quentin Tarantino. All right. So the rap battle thing means we can put off those jokes for about a year, and I can handle that. All right. Let's move on and talk about what everybody is most excited for in this tournament. And I will start off. And for me, I made no secret of it. It's that Maegashira 1 rank. It's Kiribayama, Wakataka Kage. I have a lot of hope in both of those guys. This being Kiribayama's second tournament in the Joy and Wakataka Kage's first tournament in the Joy. Don't necessarily think they're going to do outstanding, but I am very excited to see kind of how they stand up to the current standard in sumo wrestling and see if they truly can be one of the next cogs in the future of sumo wrestling. What about you, Jake?
For me, it's basically the fact that I actually changed my mind while recording here, but Maegashira 4 and up, there's like basically it's the old man lingering that is mostly missing from this Bansuke. So the Joy is almost entirely new generation dudes, and that's friggin' awesome. I think I am most excited for the unproven guys, Kiribayama, Wakataka Kage, Takanosho. Depending on how injuries shake out, you get Toby Zaru and Kodo Shoho in the mix. That's what I'm most excited for. It feels like a very unpredictable basho, and sometimes that's what I want.
All right, Mac?
I'm just excited for Sumo to be back. No. I'm really excited to see how Asanoyama recovers after this. I want him to do really well in this. I want him to win it for this one.
Me too.
Artek Takakeisho, Takakeisho
not
winning would be
not
pretty
Takakeisho.
all right, too.
Oh, we now have lines drawn in the sand on this podcast. So Mac has 2 bonus points on Asanoyama doing better than Takakeisho, and I have Asanoyama as my champ. And then Fleric has 2 points on the line for Takakeisho doing better than Asanoyama, and Jake has Takakeisho as his champ. So we've got some battle lines on this podcast.
All right, maybe we need to do another 2 versus 2 podcast punishment or something like that with me and Fleric on a team.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe if like Fleric or somebody or Fleric or Mac or whoever loses between Fleric and Mac, and because Fleric and Mac are the guys who are going to lose, and I'm planting that seed very firmly right now, maybe they have to do the parts of the movie scene that ends up being the punishment. And,
oh wait, what?
And me and Ryan fill in on the
whoa.
the rest
Jake,
of the dialogue.
Jake, I thought we were Team Takakesha. What's going on here?
You're right. So when Mac
Team
loses,
Keisha.
yes. I will find a movie scene for me and Fleric to do where we are the people that are not embarrassing. There you go. Okay. All right. I think we're good.
I love it. Everyone on Twitter. I want to hear like Team Keisha or Team like what? What's the other guy?
Asanoyama. Let's take to Twitter on this.
I forget full name.
I'm
curious. I'm curious to see if how well my pulse is on the community.
All right, we can do that.
I'm curious. How many smart sumo followers there are?
I will say I have not lost yet this year, which is a new feeling for me. So, could it be my time? I don't think so.
Yeah.
I would also, it is very cursed if Mac hasn't lost. If we're doing that on Twitter, we should also take requests for movie scenes that are particularly embarrassing for one person to do the dialogue of.
Okay. Yeah, we will work on that. I will get those things sent out. So, yeah, we have now changed the punishment to a double punishment, kinda. There will still only be one official loser of the basho, but if either Mac or I lose, we have to reel the other one into the punishment and performing. And then if Jake or Fleric lose, they both have to do the punishment with the actual loser between them doing the worst parts.
Like it.
All right. Do we want to take Mac and Fleric's 2-point bet off the board?
No, absolutely not.
And just kind of have it.
These are the battle lines.
It makes it perfect. It makes it more likely that someone who isn't me loses.
All right. And Fleric, don't think I forgot about you. What are you most excited for this tournament?
Yeah. If you could take your eyes away from the Adonis that is Toby Zaru for a moment, feast your eyes upon the Komusubi rank of former Ozeki versus former Ozeki. I think it's just so cool that we got some old school people returning from injury looking to retake the Ozeki rank. And I am curious to see how it shakes out.
All right. If you are also looking to retake your Ozeki rank, you can leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts.
Sick segue.
I like it.
Nice. Yeah. Also, get to social media and let me know what you guys think about Takakesha versus Asanoyama. You can find us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, Grand Sumo Breakdown.
Our blog is grandsumobreakdown.wordpress.com. Go check out our first legit blog post from Mac regarding the the Consulates Cup, the recent sumo tournament that was held.
Yes, and there are more to come. I am finding there are more tournaments for me to watch and blog. In
addition to if you want more Mac in your life, he and I are also doing, yes, we all do, but he and I are also doing a sumo fitness challenge with Ed from the United States Sumo Federation. And that is way more than I've ever said during our closing section here.
Fleric and Mac, before we move on, there was sumo trivia Sunday night that unfortunately Jake and I were not able to attend, but you both attended. Can you tell us how that went?
The honor goes to the winner, which, Fleric, if you please.
Yeah, it was a fierce battle of sumo knowledge and trivia. I think the answer was, the questions were made actually by someone really cool in the U.S. sumo tournament scene. I'm going to try to look up his podcast to see maybe hopefully I remember his name.
It's the Ohio Sumo
Darius?
podcast.
Yeah, Darius sounds right.
That was the Ohio Sumo podcast.
Darius, I feel like I'm a relatively knowledgeable person about lots of things sumo, simply because I'm forced to talk about it with my friends all the time.
Forced.
I mean, I get the pleasure to do it. But he also, Darius has just a wonderful breadth of knowledge, especially of a lot of the older kind of older wrestlers during before the 2000s and so. So he made a cool set of questions, and obviously I was able to come out as victor between those, between all the people who went. So it was a really fun time. And also even funner because I won. So
one more shout out related to that. I'm sorry, go ahead, Mac.
No, I was going to say, I took silver because I didn't finish reading all the questions before I answered.
Oh, yes, I'm sure that would have changed it.
Rookie move.
One more shout out that resulted of that is we were also contacted by another guy looking to reach out, fellow Cyclone Jake of the Ohio Sumo Club. Arguably the second most accomplished Jake in English language sumo coverage. Yeah, good for Jake 2, we'll call him.
Yeah. Hopefully he doesn't talk about actual sumo in the ring.
And hopefully he doesn't let that go to his head. I know it's a big accomplishment to be the second greatest Jake in English language sumo coverage, but hopefully he doesn't overstate his fame with how gigantic of a deal that is.
But if you would like to contact us for even more fame, drop us a line at grandsumobreakdown@gmail.com or talk to us live at 805-613-7866. Probably not live, but 805-613-SUMO is the number to call.
All right, the tournament starts on Sunday, November 8th. I was not pulling up my calendar because I couldn't exactly remember what day Sunday was. I totally just wanted to do that for dramatic effect.
Yep. No one noticed anything.
No, it seemed perfectly natural. Just like this exit.
Bye.
Nailed it. God, we're professional sumo podcasters.
We did it!
All right, I hate you guys. Can I go now?
Thank you for listening to Grand Sumo Breakdown. Until next time,
Throw your salt high.
And keep moving forward.